Hello everyone, my name is Grigory. You are on the channel of the largest electric transport store in Russia, Simago Electro. And today I will tell you how to properly use the throttle on electric vehicles. In fact, the throttle on electric vehicles is very different, and people switching from internal combustion engines, without understanding this, can get themselves into trouble. There are plenty of examples where, during a test drive, an enduro bike shoots out from under a client who didn't expect such a response. Or a friend who is given an electric bike to try for the first time, crashes into the nearest wall while trying to rev it up like a gas-powered one. And the more electric transport takes over the market, the more relevant this topic becomes. That's why we're going to break it down today. Let's start with the differences in design. For example, in my hands I have a throttle from an electric bike and a throttle from a gas-powered bike. The electric one uses an electronic drive. Turning the throttle sends a signal to the controller indicating how much current needs to be supplied. The controller immediately draws the required amount of current from the battery and pumps it into the motor. This happens almost instantly. But the gas-powered one uses a cable. By the way, electric bikes can have this too, a cable throttle. At the end of it, there's a device like this that converts the cable's movement into the same actions as the electronic throttle. And in the end, there are still wires coming out. The cable on a gas-powered bike opens the injectors to supply fuel which burns and pushes, the pistons which turn the crankshaft, and so on. So in general, the path to getting the wheels moving is not a short one. Many people will object now saying, how come? My Maybach has had an electronic gas pedal for a long time. Yes, electronic gas pedals have been installed in cars for over 10 years, but an electronic gas pedal doesn't eliminate the time you spend from opening the injectors to the wheels actually turning. And the most important thing is the gearbox. Whether it's an automatic or a manual, it, so to speak, changes the throttle sensitivity depending on which gear is currently engaged. Simply put, in different gears, if you keep the shifter or gas pedal in the same position, you'll get different speed results. With the throttle on an electric vehicle, the main nuance is that pressing the pedal, pulling the trigger, or twisting the throttle is always proportional to the current supplied to the motor. Let me explain with an example. This is an electric motorcycle. It's set up on a stand so that the rear wheel can spin freely. And this is equipment straight from Skolkovo for ultra-precise current measurement. A clip. We attach it to the throttle handle. When idling, we have this kind of range of motion, about 70 degrees. Look, I turn the throttle to the minimum angle, and I get the minimum speed. If I twist the throttle all the way to the maximum angle, then I get the maximum speed. So we end up with this kind of scale. To make it clearer, I drew it again, this time in kilometers per hour. For example, 20 kilometers per hour is at this particular angle of the handle's rotation. Whereas on an internal combustion engine, for instance, in first gear it might be located somewhere at the end, at the bottom. And in second gear, higher up, somewhere in the middle. On an electric vehicle, the throttle is always in a fixed position, and that's really cool. For example, when you're driving on the highway, your hand or foot, if you're in a car, already remembers mechanically how much you need to press the throttle to reach a certain speed. This allows you to feel the vehicle you're controlling to the fullest. Smooth linear torque and instant response are some of the main advantages of an electric vehicle. But if you get on it without understanding electric torque, as I mentioned earlier, you can get yourself into trouble. So here's a short list of tips to help you avoid mishaps with electric torque. Press the throttle smoothly without jerks or revving. The response on an electric vehicle is instant. If you try to apply the throttle with sharp jerks, that's a direct path to the nearest wall. Second, this mostly applies to motorcycles, but remember that on most models, the throttle is blocked by the brake and you need to release the throttle before you let go of the brake. Third, don't let your friends who are used to gas engines take it for a spin, especially on motorcycles, no matter how much experience they have. And if you still decide to take the risk, first explain the nuances of handling it to them or just show them this video. And fourth, get into the habit of turning off your electric motorcycle or locking it when it's stationary. Electric vehicles are completely silent. And unlike a gas engine, which makes noise when it's running, the only way to know an electric bike is ready to go is by the indicators on the display. And there's another completely brilliant method that most of your close friends and colleagues will probably use. Just simply try manually twisting the throttle. The first time this happened was in 2018 with one of the very first motorcycles we sold. A couple of days after buying it, he already came in for repairs, and the owner told an incredible story about how he was showing his motorcycle to some amazed friends when one of them decided to twist the throttle. The result was repairs for both the motorcycle and the fence. Fortunately, the friend who twisted the throttle wasn't hurt, at least during the incident itself. In short, electric vehicles have their own quirks, but once you get the hang of them, operating them will open up a whole new world for you. If you still have any questions about operating electric vehicles, write them in the comments and we'll be sure to answer.